Kate Shortland brings us back to the MCU on the big screen for the first time in over a year with Black Widow, which gives us a nice send off for Scarlette Johansen's character she has been playing since the late 2000s. How does this rank amongst the other MCU movies? Let's find out. Natasha Romanov is on the run from the law after the events of Civil War, but she is forced to face her past when long lost sister Yelena comes to her for help. Before I get into my review, if you like what I do on this channel, you want to see more movie reviews, rankings, and video essays from me, click that like button and subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this coming all the time. But without further ado, let's get into this. So, Black Widow. I will say right now that while it is not top tier MCU, it's not bottom tier either. In fact, I very much enjoyed it and felt like it was a great send off for the franchise of Black Widow. To start off with, I really enjoyed the family dynamic between all the actors involved. Florence Pugh and Scarlette Johansson really have a great chemistry, and they have a great back and forth with David Harbour and Rachel Weisz. It's a great sequence to watch this family that were forced together by means of circumstance on a mission actually grow to form these familial bonds between each other. Yelena, by far, is the standout character. Florence Pugh made me fall in love with this character immediately. She is so dry with her humor. She does the best of the serious moments and she does the best comedy moments in this movie. But that does lead me into my biggest issue with the film, and that's the inconsistent tone. Now, yes, I know a lot of Marvel films have that balance between comedy and seriousness, but when the film starts off as dark as it does, the opening sequence is effectively Black Widow back when she was a child, really setting up her and her sister getting involved in this Russian spy unit, and it's a really dark opening with a very eerie title sequence to the tune of Smells Like Teen Spirit in an alternated, slowed down version. It really sets up this dark spy movie about trauma and overcoming your past. It's got a lot of deep elements to it. So when we get into the heavy handed comedy, it is really jarring. The subtle comedy I can deal with. Florence Pugh does great with a subtle comedy where she is taking the mick out of Scarlett Johansson's poses or what is a really good way to die. Those sorts of dry humor jokes really hit home. The big thing that let me down was how they sacrificed Alexi's character for a lot of the heavy handed comedy moments. Now, yes, David Harbour, he is great at comedic moments and being this very dysfunctional father. We have seen that a lot in the Stranger Things Netflix show. But there comes a time where you want to let these emotional moments sit. And there are a lot of times where they have an emotional moment that get cut off, usually through dramatic circumstances, but on occasion through some very comedic circumstances that don't really fit with the flow of the film. A character will be pouring their heart out to someone and they'll get cut off and made to look like a buffoon for us all to laugh at. Unfortunately, it did give me a lot of them Fat Four vibes from Endgame, but whereas Four, there was definitely a lot of layers to him, they didn't really lean into it as much with Alexi's character. Melina is great as the surrogate mum of Natasha and Yelena, but we don't get to see enough of it, I would say. Like, she is very spread out in different parts of the movie and isn't featured as heavily. This film is very much carried on the dynamic between Yelena and Natasha, and I like to say that they did a fantastic job, and that's what really held the glue to this film together. Because the plot was by the numbers, and I felt they could have let into it a lot more. There's this whole thing about mind control and indoctrination into being a sleeper agent, which is a classic trope when it comes to Russia versus American war in cinema. As we've seen that a lot with Bucky in The Winter Soldier, and we have seen the sort of spy stuff again in The Winter Soldier, this felt like a lesser down version of that. and I feel like this could have gone to a more bolder direction. There are some really entertaining action sequences, and I really enjoyed Taskmaster as one of the antagonists of this movie. I just love the way this made this character so threatening without having to say a word. This outfit looks fantastic, and the identity of the person behind it is, while slightly predictable, it is a nice twist, and I feel like it really added to Natasha's character. On the flip side, we had Ray Winston playing the other antagonist, who's a basically the head of the Russian Black Widow cell. He controls all the indoctrinated widows, and I love Ray Winston. He is a solid actor. He is a British icon, for crying out loud, but he did not suit this Russian role at all. His accent would jump from Russian to his classic Cockney, literally in the same sentence sometimes. It didn't quite work out. I felt this was a very poor role for him. As a result, really let down this character, because I did like what they were trying to do with this character. This character wanted to be the big man who didn't have to prove anything to anyone, but was very insecure about being talked down to. There's a great sequence with him and Scarlette Johansson bouncing off each other, and he gets very tense. And I love the subtext involved within it. There was nothing heavy-handed. It was all there, plain as day to see. You just had to look for it, and I really enjoyed that element. But I couldn't really buy him as this threatening villain where all I could see was Ray Winston, who just kept slipping back into the Cockney accent. He was one of the weaker Marvel villains, and that's saying a lot because this franchise is known for having quite weak villains. David Harbour did do a good job as Alexei. I just feel like the script let his character down quite a bit. But I do enjoy how the film does set up some loose plot holes. You can really call them plot holes from the end of Civil War. But I do like how they tie that up in a nice little bow. And the film really does give us an understanding as to Natasha's psyche when she does make the ultimate sacrifice in Endgame. And I feel like going back to watch Endgame now, say I watched Civil War, then this, then Infinity War, then Endgame, I feel like that'd be a nice 4 films to watch back to back just for Black Widow's perspective. I would say that is definitely worth doing at some point or another. But overall, yeah, for me, Black Widow starts off in one of the darkest manners I've ever seen in an MCU movie. I do love the family dynamic, and Florence Pugh just steals the show, but with a lackluster script, some very heavy-handed comedy, and the poorly missed cast villain. It did pull this film down for me quite considerably. It did feel a bit like the poor man's Winter Soldier, just on a base level. Obviously, this film is drastically different from Winter Soldier and is more fleshed out. But if you look at it from a surface level, like a lot of people tend to do, it feels like a bargain version of the Winter Soldier. So overall, for me, I'm gonna have to say that Black Widow, while it was a great send off for Scarlett Johansson and everything she's done for this franchise, Black Widow for me is just that film that needs a bit more sugar. So, Black Widow, have you seen it? Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. What is your favourite Scarlett Johansson or Florence Pugh performance? Let me know. Coming up on the channel, probably going to do a ranking video of the loyalty missions in Mass Effect 2. I might get a review of Supernova out. I mean, it's been out for a while, but it's something I really want to talk about just because it's one of those films that I feel like needs to be spoke about. I've not seen it covered enough on this platform. So do be sure to make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification so you never miss any videos like that. And until next time, my name is Josh, I've been your Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you in the next video.